This is Naluvali Sports, and this is the interview with Uganda Sports Press Association presidential candidate, Leon Ssenyange. In this exclusive one-on-one, Leon takes us through his sports journey.
Well, Leon Ssenyange is a very simple man. He's a journalist, former athlete, I should probably say. I have participated in motorsport, a national champion therein, and my career in journalism is one that spans close to 20 years now. So that's pretty much my kind of limited illustration of who exactly I am. But there's a lot more that I believe there is about me.
In this part of the interview, Leon opens up about his 3 failed candidature times and why he is the right person now.
Well, my journey into a newsroom started on 6th January 2003. I remember I was a young boy and I walked into this newsroom at the National Theatre. It was a weekly publication called The Sunrise, and that's where I started my trade. I have an interesting story about my first day in the field. It was 3 days after I had walked into the newsroom. I was sent to cover a press conference for a political party, and quite often they would give press releases of about 18 pages or slightly fewer. So I get back to the newsroom and I type pretty much the whole press release. The editor of the day told me, young man, this will cover the whole newspaper. So I started learning the trade like that. In terms of covering sports, of course, the opportunity was much easier for me than it would have been where I had been sent first to cover a political story. So sports was much easier. I had grown up watching the CNNs, Don Riddell, Pedro Pinto, and those were the people that were really inspiring us. So it came off easy to write sports news. In 2007, the opportunity at NTV came through, and yes, it was highly exciting for me. I had done a lot of camera work before actually joining TV, and yes, now I had an opportunity for me to be the Pedro Pinto or Don Riddell of Uganda, and I worked towards that. Soon after, during my period at NTV, I had the chance to win the CNN Multi-Choice Sports Category Award, a very big award. It was hosted in Uganda. I think that for me was one of the highlights of my career. I didn't quite imagine myself competing with several other Africans and having my story the best. The story was about the blind boxer. He lives in Naguru. I don't think he still fights these days, but yeah, it was a very inspiring story. Soon after that, I left NTV and joined Super Sports. It was not much of the longest period of work I've been involved in, but yes, it was an exciting and, if anything, the highest level of sports broadcast you can ever be involved in. Live broadcast was the kind we had not done quite to the level of SuperSport here, and so SuperSport offered us the opportunity to learn what outside broadcast was like. That was massive. It was indeed massive. Thereafter, I walked out we left SuperSport, of course, with the challenges that had existed here. In football, they left, so we had to find other spaces. Went into sports club Victoria University as their communications manager. Still, it was aligned to sports. And while I was working there, of course, international news agencies came through to seek those who could cover sports for them in Uganda, and that has been pretty much my journey up to where I am now. I've worked for several dailies, and of course, as a young journalist, you want to find the opportunities that will propel you into the other spaces, as you grow along the way. So yes, I've written for a couple of newspapers, including the Daily Monitor, and yeah, I mean, it's the nature of journalism in this country. We can only aspire to be better.
In this third part, Leon talks about the USPA he wants to lead.
Being a USPA member, I joined USPA in 2006. Young fellow joining sports, and like I said, I started in 2006, so it was only imperative that you joined the association that would carry you along as a sports journalist. So yes, I joined in 2006, and 4 years later, I had the opportunity to contest for the presidency in 2010. I felt the ideas were there, the energy was there. I lost that election. But still, you keep in there. It was a learning. I don't regret that moment, actually, because society has a way of judging people. Society has a way of judging young people especially, but then also experience matters. I still count on that as a block that um, was built onto what life should be. So 2010, yes, I lost the presidency. I followed that up in 2014 again. Along the way, you're still in the association, learning a few things here and there, getting involved here and there. I again lost that election in 2014. No. I contested in 2014 and lost to Sabiti. But of course, the gaps kept getting narrower. In 2016, yes, I think we could have had it in 2016, but on the eve of 24 hours before the election day, I decided to pull out. I think so much was running through my mind, um, and the more you grow, the more you tend to understand and want to realize that things should be done in an orderly manner. And when you realize that things have not been done in an orderly manner, you have choices to make. Either be part of something that probably that could have brought you in a not orderly manner, or you step aside and try and see that things are done correctly. And yes, I stepped out of that election, much to the disappointment of the members. Many still feel undone by that decision, but it was a pivotal one for me. I think thereafter, key issues that I had concerns about were worked on. Most importantly, the constitution. The constitution was revised, and I think within 2 years it was amended and adopted by the association, and it's what we are now being governed by, and it's a much better constitution, has a lot more governance structures therein that I think can only help us as young leaders, as young sports journalists, think wider about the administrative processes that we get involved in.
Part 4 has everything to do with the SACCO dilemma and the way forward.
As young people, leadership is very key. You either inspire people or you be inspired by others. Now, it's one of those small things that as a sports journalist society, we don't have much of. So not very many people will you find with the leadership qualities. So we need to be able to propel that. In terms of service, USPA is about serving. Um, the benefits therein are about the relations you have, the partners you create along the way, the activities you get to do, not for your own benefit, but for the benefit of the association and the members within the association. And that is service. You have your time, do and provide and make your contribution to the association, and nurture somebody to take up the position that you probably may have been in, inspire somebody to say and give them the fact, the willingness to, you can serve in that position and you can be helped. That is the service. In terms of progress, as sports journalists, we don't have much coming our way. And that's the truth. We work in a sector that is limited in the opportunities, limited in finances, limited in one way or another. So we need to find those opportunities that are progressive. And I've actually since now added another. We have to find realistic goals that are very achievable, and goals that are very progressive. So that means that if you're 24 and 25 or 26 and you're within the sports sector, what will you be at 36? That's a span of 10 years. So you need to have done things in that period of 10 years. I'll admit that as an ex-com, the authority around that SACCO was handed over to another group of members within the SACCO itself. So they probably need to have the better answers around the progress around the SACCO. But that doesn't take away the fact that we should have our eyes on what that SACCO should be able to provide. I believe it is one area that we shall dig into and see that we move a particular resource and make sure that there's a lot more that comes in with the resources that are in. For me, it's about the ideas. If you have, for instance, 10 million Uganda shillings, what can you do with 10 million Uganda shillings to be able to make 10 million and 1 million shillings tomorrow? Now, those ideas many expect should come from the ExCom, but I would want to differ from that. Those are ideas that you sit together as an association and say, somebody so and so, you've been involved in the chicken project. How does it work? So and so you're trading in household materials. How does it work? So and so you're in a confectionery or the eateries business. How does it work? Can we invest 10 million Uganda shillings and over a period of time, you have a bonus or profits coming through? We need to understand how money is made. That's for me is one of the other important things. I don't think we do, yeah, as an association. I don't really think we do. So we need to be able to understand that while you have a SACCO, there are things that need to be done with the resources within the SACCO collectively that should multiply the resource that you have. It has to be a decision that everybody agrees upon. There has to be commitment towards the monitoring of that activity. There has to be trust in terms of managing the resources, the monies that come through from that initiative that you get involved in. Now, before we even think about investment, we need to think about the mindset. And that for me is very important. And I think it's one of the things we have to dig our hands into before we decide to step out. There are risks in investing money. You can lose it, you can earn more. Now, all those are the things we need to be able to understand.
Next, Leon speaks about creating a resource base and capacity building.
Our capacity to improve on that area is determined by the resources we have at our disposal. I must say that over the last 12 or so years, coming through from the COVID pandemic, we've struggled in terms of resources. And we need to understand the fact that we exist as an organization, not just as an association, but as an organization. An organization that must have resources to facilitate the execution of particular activities. Now, when you don't have those resources, you're constrained. Yes. So for us, that is one of the downsides to why some of these activities have not happened. So to be able to have those, we need to increase our resource base. And once you have that and can confidently say, we can spend this little or this much in this activity, then yes, we can get moving. But that doesn't take away the fact that we should be able to create partnerships. Partnerships with universities, yes, partnerships with particular institutions that are in line with the kind of work that we do. Those partnerships are, however, developed through processes. You need to engage, you need to sell an idea, you need to have the budgeting for that particular idea, you need to know who is able to meet what particular costs, and once the two parties can think and come to an agreement, then you move forward. We have not had, because of the challenge we have on our side, we, the ability to engage can be limited. Nobody's going to give you anything for free these days. No. Because if you engage with the classroom or with the university, you'll need a classroom. You'll need a facilitator. You'll need, free refreshments for the day. If it's a weekend course, you need to purchase certificates. If all those are expenses, yeah. So who caters for some of those things? The bill can't entirely be on the partner that you are engaged with. We need to change our mindset. We need to be able to increase our resource, and that resource will give us the capacity to engage and engage where you can have a cost benefit, cost sharing opportunities where then we can move forward. That for me is the line of thought. So until we achieve that, we shall still have a challenge on trying to have these educationals. But importantly, there's so many things online. There are so many opportunities for people to study online. And that is where members need to be serious. Once a link is posted, there's a free tutorial here on, let's say, introduction to digital journalism. It is upon the individual to take up those 4 or 5 hours and study that particular module and get a certificate from the institute. It is free. Yes. So beyond members waiting for the association to grow them, they also need to have the capacity to think about personal growth.
Last but not the least, Leon talks about the challenges that have hindered USPA to prosper.
Wow. The first one is commitment to the work. We take up these roles, and like I said, it's a service. But while you offer yourself to serve, there must be commitment to achieving and fulfilling the responsibility that comes with the role that you sought to gain. We've had challenges there where the full commitment of members towards the responsibilities that were attached to them has been lacking. It is not something you're going to push an adult to do. It is about you, the individual, saying, I committed myself to doing this role. I need to be able to fulfill this role. I should bring ideas on the table to grow this association. So on a whole, it's a collective thing. Whoever comes in to serve needs to have the commitment. Even outside of the ExCom, even while you're within the association, you must be able to have the commitment to serve. The second, I think, for us is to change our mindset. We need to change our mindset to the fact that we need to think of USPA as an organization, not as an association. An association is bring people together and they can meet and greet, be happy and move on. We need to think of ourselves as an organization, because that also builds us as individuals for the next tasks that we may have in the future. If you're able to manage this organization as USPA, and of course, management of organization comes with the quality of financial resource you attribute to that organization, the quality of human resource you attribute to that organization, the quality of output of activities that that organization has. At the end of the day, it builds you, yes? And once you've served within USPA and you know these are the kind of qualities and tasks and skills I have on myself, then you're ready for the next level. Because I still believe that USPA is not entirely up there in the biggest of organizations, but it propels you, it prepares you to take up a role beyond just where we are at a level. You can move from USPA and become somebody in the Uganda Olympic Committee, the National Sports Council, or even still in the ministry. But how were you as an individual? What was your mindset in terms of organizational structures, organizational responsibilities and behavior at this level? So for me, those are the things that we need to work on.